It's finally time. Welcome back to Brotaku Retrospective. This week we are finally watching a mech anime.
Oh, I know. We've been wearing these shirts the whole time, and somebody's been wondering, like, are they ever going to talk about robots? Like,
It's time.
it is today.
This week we are going over Gargantia on the
Virgin.
Verdurous planet. I would say as far as mech goes, this is a very easy to get into. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's entry level.
yeah, it's like half space mech fight, half slice of life.
Yeah.
So, join us for this.
hmm
I'm Eddie Friels.
I'm Clinton Tossbomb.
Here we go. Episode 1, Castaway. So we are dropped into this flashy space fight world right out the gate with the episode. You're just immediately hooked. You have aliens, you have mechas fighting
You
around.
have fleets of ships, like, in
Yeah.
space. I mean,
We get the idea that humanity has long since abandoned Earth, had been traveling space forever, and at some point in their travels, they have come across another species of intelligent life and have been at war with each other for who knows how long. And so humanity is flying through the star system trying to find a new habitable planet to live on and destroy the Hiduaze,
mhm.
as they're called, which they look pretty octopus-like, kind of squiddish.
Yeah. Very, like, yeah, your octopus squid looking thing where the mouth's in the middle. Like, it's nothing too, like, alien, honestly.
Yeah, like a hard shell crustacean almost as they're flying through space.
Overstall.
Yeah, so it's, pull on mini sci-fi tropes. Like it's a pretty entry level space
Definitely.
entity,
It's not.
Cthulhuian.
Yeah, it's not too out there.
So we start out with lots of space fights going on. We see the human colony, which I thought the colony was really neat looking. Not necessarily the most practical space colony lineup that I've seen displayed because
Right.
it's like the Halo ring where like
That's what I
half
was
of it's
thinking.
exposed to all the elements and just in a space bubble, and then the other half's like steel.
All station or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know. It space bubble, whatever.
Yeah.
It's visually stunning. It looked cool, but whatever.
Yeah, it was like a halfway rip off of Halo, like just how the rings are. Like you could just go.
It also kind of made me think of like the colony planets and Gundam Seed specifically.
That's what I was thinking of. I think yes.
Yeah, like
Well, they're
the
kind of like floating, like what would you call
well,
those? Like,
where the main pilot meets the space princess, and you
mhm,
get like the outside perspective of
mhm,
that. That's what it reminded me of a
yeah.
lot.
Mhm.
But all the same, pretty cool. And we're taken into the cockpit of our main character. His name is Leto. Looks pretty identical to most of his kind. Apparently, the space people are very authoritarian, breed for the perfect soldiers because they're always being hunted by the Hidoaze.
Mhm.
And he's 15 years old,
Yes.
average height, pretty thin build, no more muscle than he needs, but can sustain all the weird G forces of his mech.
Right.
Silver hair, purple eyes.
Right.
Classic anime eye
Like
candy.
you're
You know
you're
who the main character
you're
is.
you're not from Earth, clearly.
Yeah.
Thing too.
And we get details on just the whole spacefaring civilization,
Mhm.
and we're taken into the cockpit of our main character, Leto.
Mhm.
And after using him as the medium in which to set up the whole world, basically, because it
Mhm.
starts out with his computer interface talking to him. It's like, hey, you have now registered enough service hours to go on the island and
After this mission, though.
yeah, finish this mission and you're in party heaven, basically.
Yeah, I think they were being sent out to, yeah, pretty much like go to a base of the Hidoaze and just try to wipe it out. And I mean, they kind of explain it like it's super, like really difficult to do this, but and they're bringing a new weapon to the table or something, but they need a lot of support for that weapon, of course. Basically, it's like a like a multi-turret like type of weapon where it has to like connect to the other satellites and basically just fire a big like laser wall thing.
Yeah, it's a interlocking beam cannon.
I thought the Hitawase's like a weapon was kind of crazy looking because it like shoots and it looks like lightning and then everything blows up. Like you don't even see the lightning connect; it just goes through the fleet, and it's like. I
Yeah,
was like, "Damn!"
you just see the classic circle, 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 circle. So as they're going through the fight, they engage in the mission and are overwhelmed. The new weapon cannot hold up.
Yeah, they fire it once, I believe, and they take down the Hitawase's main weapon so they can get to the base. But like that thing's regenerating quickly, and they're like, "We didn't think it would regenerate that quickly."
Yeah, they apparently all self-heal if you can't finish them in X amount of time.
Like completely incinerate them, I guess, is the way to go with that one.
And so the Hidoase host ship takes out the interlocking beam cannon, and the gate which they used to quick travel to this instance was also on a timer for power.
Yep.
And so they were on a time frame. So it was like, we got to get back. Like, we lost the mission. This is a L on the board. And so everyone's trying to retreat, and we see perspective of Leto and his commander Kugel.
Yeah, they have an exchange. Like, you know, Kugel. They're trying to rally out the rest of the forces basically while providing support. And I mean, all this is. They're still getting attacked by these things.
Yeah,
while
so
this is all going on. It's chaos.
Yeah, it's like the in-fight comms communication. And right now we're getting the vibe that, like, it seems like his Commander Kugel, is a kind of upstanding guy because he basically decides, I'm an old guy, I've been in a lot of fights, you're a young kid, you've got a lot more fights in front of you still, so you get your butt to the portal and get yourself back to the fleet, I'm going to be the decoy. And as they try to separate, Leto gets jumped by two of the Hidoase, and before he can get into the wormhole, he gets kind of thrown off trajectory.
Right, because it was prepping him to go into the wormhole. I believe his mech was trying to say, like, all right, you got so much time until the jump, you know, start getting ready. And as they were getting ready, Hidoase started, you know, getting on Leto's mech. By this time, his commanding officer, Kugel, was already just ganged up on.
Yeah, we assume at this point that we've lost the commander. All I'm going to say at this point in regards to this episode is I kicked myself for not noticing the commander flies a purple mech. That's all I'm going to say on that for now.
It's awesome.
And so Leto pops out of the wormhole on the other side, gets rid of the two Hidoase off of him, and before him is this big blue planet.
And he's just hurtling
towards it. And they get to a point where they can kind of stop and
stabilize, yeah.
And Leto's mech system, which is called Chamber, Chamber's doing a scan of the area, and he's like, according to all the celestial objects around, there's only one possible planet this can be.
The history, yeah.
This has to be Earth.
Right.
And Leto's like, no way.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is like years, like in the future. So, and, you know, plenty of stuff's happened. Like, obviously, like Leto and whomever he's part of, the Alliance, thought Earth was gone.
Yeah, it was basically canon in the space humanoids lore that the Earth was a lost planet. There was no going back to that. So that wraps out episode 1, going into episode 2, the origin, or the planet of origin. And so we're now seeing Leto decide to interact with Earth.
Yeah, I think Chamber picks up like, hey, there's some life forms out here.
Right. Things exist. Would you like to descend?
Right.
Absolutely.
Leto's like, yes.
And
keep an eye out.
And so he drops down into the planet, goes through the atmosphere, and after some amount of time, stumbles upon a massive conglomerate of ships.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, like neat looking when like you get the overshot of it. Like it happens a few times in this show, and it just blows me away because it's just a bunch of ships like literally bridging to one another, just roaming together.
Right, the air shot looks like just a moving city on the water.
Yeah, it's cool. You got trees growing on it and everything. It's awesome.
And so he finds this ship and he proceeds to land the mech on it.
Mm-hmm. And then the people are like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, what in the world is this? And Leto and Chamber are greeted by the welcoming committee of dudes with long rifles and the ship residents' mech suits.
Mm-hmm.
And just every artillery they have is pointed at the mysterious flying robot.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call it? Unobos in this one?
Eurobos.
Eurobos, yeah.
Eurobos.
And so they're kind of having a standoff trying to figure out what to do. Leto doesn't want to do anything wrong. He's like, I would like to negotiate with these people, Chamber. Like, don't do anything to them. We're on standby until we can communicate.
But yeah, there's that language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking, like, asking or inquiring stuff, and then even Chambers, like, I don't understand him. You're going to have to give me a minute on this one.
Yeah, so they basically wait it out, and Chamber listens to the town folk until he finally can translate the language, which...
I'm still learning the language here. Give me a minute.
Which go program, go. And as we get to the point where it's starting to finally click and they're able to translate back and forth, we get Calamity on the ship. And that one of the salvage team radios in that they're being besieged by pirates. Mm-hmm. We still don't have a lot of ideas, but so far it's been a lot of water, big boat, and now we have undersea divers and pirates.
Yeah, and then all while this is happening, Leto's still in Chamber. He has not come out yet.
Mm-hmm. And I think he pops out a little earlier than expected.
Yeah, no, you're right, because he thought he was alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we get our next main character in the picture, Amy.
Yes. You want to take Amy?
Yeah, so Amy's are just around the same age as Leto, more or less.
It's inferred anyway.
Yeah. 9-day difference between these two. Amy's got tan skin from obviously being in the sunlight for so long. Wears, shorts, kind of like a cut off top. She almost looks like a... God, how would you say it? Like a... Trying to think of like those one like almost like a... How do you call it? Like some kind of Hispanic descent kind of.
Yeah, like a
garb.
poncho?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, more or less. And she and she has brown hair and blue eyes.
I think.
Correctly?
Green and something.
Green or greenish blue. So she normal human being to us, obviously. Mm-hmm. Wandering around in the under parts of the ship where Leto and Chamber are, but little does she know Leto's being a creep in the corner here with his little laser gun.
Yeah, that's right, because he ends up crashing into, that's right, I jumped ahead. Yeah. He crashes into the ocean and they salvage him up because they're like, whoa, we never seen a mech that's this fancy looking.
Yeah, they thought it is one of the, like a Yonburo, like of some kind. They're like, oh, like weapon,
And that's right. And Leto originally wakes up still in Chamber and he sees the visual of them with like crowbars.
Right there in the front, like,
I couldn't even get a razor blade
Chamber's
in it.
like assessment. They are trying to attack us, and it's not working.
I love
Leto's like, all right, leave them as is.
Honestly, I think Chamber's one of the best characters in the whole show.
Definitely is, yes. Comic relief on like a different level, for sure.
Appropriate use of the robot.
But yeah, so that's, I think...
so yeah, he waits for the nighttime.
Yeah, and he runs into Amy because Amy's wandering around. I forget why.
She wanted to see the thing that they
Oh
fished
yeah,
out.
she never got to see it. Yeah, that's right. She wanted to see it for her own eyes, and that's when Leto is sneaking around the corner, and I think Pinion comes back in because he's like, yeah, I can't, I was going to sleep, but you had to wake me up because you got to see this dang thing, and that's when like I think Leto just makes a mistake and like makes a noise, and then Pinion's like, Amy, get behind me, and then like this whole exchange happened. He's like, all right, whoever's out there,
Yeah,
and
he's like, Pinion is like, whoever popped out, reveal yourself, whatever.
And then
Because they're all spooked that something was in it. Like, they thought they just pulled treasure out of the sea. And Leto's
yeah, he
like,
noticed that it was open. He was like, oh no.
yeah. And so Leto, he's like, I'm going to escape, and I'm not taking damage. So he
Takes
as he
Amy as a
runs by, he
hostage.
grabs Amy hostage and runs off with her.
Yeah, and then like causes the biggest uproar on the ship ever.
Yes, there's all the chaos of them trying to catch him and get Amy back until he gets like all the way to the top of the ship.
And then he calls Chamber out, and then Chamber comes out, and
Yeah, because he pops out on the top and he sees the whole ocean for the first time.
he's like, what?
And in his moment of shock, everyone catches up. He's like, and it's like, Chamber, save me. And Chamber just flies out the side of the ship. And
No, he blows a hole through the whole of the ship. He's like,
massive damage.
well, he said its structural integrity was actually not that great. He just shreds through it like nothing.
Yeah, the whole fleet looks very rinky-dink.
It's dated. For sure, compared to a mech, honestly. So
yeah, we have super shiny versus like put together with rusted scrap metal.
Whatever they could find in the ocean, basically. But yeah, so that happens. And yeah, there's a clear communication error. He keeps Amy hostage for a while until Chambers able to pick up like a few lines, like saying, "I think they just want to make peace with you." And then Leto's like, "Okay."
And then that was the point where we have the perspective shift to finding out that our salvager is being pirate hopped.
Because obviously other salvagers are in the area, probably saw the same thing and were like, we saw that thing hit the ocean, go.
And so after some deliberation, Amy finally takes things into her own hands and she's like, we need help. Go save her and we'll reassess the situation with you. And so he gets in the mech and he flies off and he just laser disintegrates every human personnel.
I mean, precise targeting too. I mean, he hits people inside the ship as well, like somehow with a laser. I'm just like, how a mech does that is beyond me, but that is some AI right there.
Right. He saves the day, and we end the episode figuring out that he did a big cultural taboo. We don't end pirates, we disincentivize pirates.
Yeah, basically their whole thing is like, all right, we're going to take you in, in jail, and then we're going to try to re-educate you to become a citizen, a working citizen of this society of Gargantia. But yeah, so that's more or less that episode. I think then we get into 3 because learning that he went ahead and offed a bunch of pirates. More are coming.
Yep, we get the fallout of his decisions, and he's getting to learn the hard way of this world does not work like the Galactic Alliance works. Galactic Alliance is very authoritarian, very by the letter of the law. Like, if you're not useful, you're not here. And this world seems chaotic, messy. There's children running around.
There's no order, yeah.
Their trainers aren't training them properly, as Leto would say. And so we start the episode 3, the villainous Empress.
Yeah.
With some slice of life bits with them trying to figure out what are we doing with
still the language
Leto.
barrier thing too. Yeah,
He's still trying to figure that out, but I think at this point he started trying to actually learn a little bit of it versus just translate and third party it all.
They go through Amy. For the longest time, the crew of Gargantia goes through Amy to kind of be a liaison between them and Leto for the longest time, and I think that's when, yeah, it's kind of like the end of episode 2, the beginning of episode 3. His mech chamber learns the language and is able to translate for Leto in real time at that point. And then they have that exchange, learning, like, hey, we just want, peace here and everything else. What is your, purpose here? And that's when he was trying to tell him, I'm of the Galactic Alliance and I'm here to wipe out, or my mission is to wipe out all the Hidohaze. And all this is just complete gibberish to this people. They're like, what?
I love the scenes, especially those first couple episodes when they would do perspective shifts between Leto and the boat residents, and you would hear the language barrier things change.
Very weird, like, language coming out of Leto's mouth for sure.
Yeah, whoever was like the focal point of the conversation, it was like normal, whatever language you were watching it in. But then the responder would just be gibberish.
Audio,
blah, 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 blah. And it's cool because it would do it both ways, and I definitely agree that Leto's gibberish definitely seemed extra gibberish. I was like, okay, cool.
Right.
So that little attention to detail
definitely sounded more alien, whereas when we got cuts of when Amy was talking, it sounded like a culmination of like a bunch of Earth languages together, I would say.
It kind of reminded me of that video of what English sounds like to non-English speakers.
Oh my god.
That's what it made me think of.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so we get a little slice of life happening here.
They basically accept him on the boat with reservations.
He gets billed for damages.
Yeah,
they tell him like straight up, like, yeah, you caused damage to the ship.
Here's your invoice.
And he's cool with it. He's like, that's fair.
That makes sense. I get it.
Yeah. Because Amy's like, that's so unfair. He's new here. He doesn't know any better. And he's just like, it's logic.
Right. Cold, hard logic. X plus Y equals Z.
Yep. And
I loved all the times he kept pulling that slip out. Like, what does this even mean?
Right. Every time, like, they really didn't go into detail what his inner monologue would have been on that, but like more or less he kept pulling it out like, I don't know what this is. I think he got one off of some other crew member, honestly, and he was wondering what it is, and then he got his own. He was like, oh, I recognize this. Part of the ship now.
I owe the ship money.
But basically they try to have him be part of the crew in some way, I think, or they're trying to figure out what to do with him, like you were saying.
Yeah, they're like, you can
dangerous.
Live here. We appreciate the giant robot.
Yeah, because a lot of people were in fear. They're like, this can quickly turn around on us, and this dude would have no problem whatsoever to just destroy all this. But on the same front, like, there was also, like, if he's cool with us, he's the biggest asset we have right now currently.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they've accepted him with reservations, and he's kind of started trying to find a way to make some money, because he's like, well, I have to be a productive member, and they gave me a debt sentence, so...
Right. Yeah, so his mech finds, or, well, no, they try to do different things, and I feel like I'm dipping in a little bit to maybe episode 4 here, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know. It kind of becomes a recurring theme the next couple episodes, where the ship finds super good use of chamber, and then Leto's just off to the side, like, not doing anything.
Yeah, so for episode 3, of course, being the intro, like, he does the work with his ship chamber, but the technology is so advanced and everything's so old on planet Earth, of course, that chamber wants to do it the easy way, and it just ends up being a bull in a china shop, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, I thought the electromagnetic head thing, whatever,
it's like a
the
polarity
power source
thing, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very visually stunning, but they don't explain anything for anything on this mech. You're like, just accept it.
It's got its own gravity, is what that is. It's got its own, like, instance bubble of gravity. That's how it's able to fly. It doesn't have a jetpack or anything. It
Nope.
just has an artificial gravity thing, so it can go zero gravity real quick, and all that stuff. It's got it's got tiny jets on it to propel it in that direction.
But
more
it
or less.
definitely looks like it was designed for space combat, not
Definitely zero.
Terra combat.
Yeah, zero gravity combat. That mech suit is used to the space.
Yeah, the legs are like come down into little points, which is to me was funny every time it showed like Chamber parked. Basically, it's just the two little feet crossed. Doop.
Arms down to the side.
Yeah, very dainty looking. It is
Yeah.
not the most ferocious looking mech. I still think it's super cool looking.
It's pretty
but
feminine to me, actually.
Yeah.
Feminine figure for a mech, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool. I mean, I like curves on the mech too. I have to say that. But yeah. So they're trying to fit in, and due to Leto doing doing in the pirate crew
laser
so
light
quick,
show.
he attracts the attention of other pirates in the area, and this was where we get introduced to an infamous pirate. I'm guessing because they're all like, that's the Rat Empress."
Yes, I was gonna say everybody recognizes her, and yeah, her call flag, her Jolly Roger, is a dang lobster.
Of all things.
And so her crew is all miffed because they just lost some crew members, and they're like, "We're gonna go,
Correct this.
get our place in the power dynamic back." And in true pirate fashion, they're like, "We're gonna do this at night." And so
Where
they
they
wait
can't see
for a night battle, but
They're expecting it, though.
yeah, Leto's like, "Oh, I can see all this on my local radar on Chamber." So
Right, he gets a full-blown image and everything, and they don't even know. And it's not until they go up on him, and then Chambers like spotlight on him. They're like, "What is that?"
yeah, surprises him with a night attack, but he's taken in what the whole crew said about the no termination
yeah.
of life
Yep.
thing. And so he changes his game plan, focuses on destroying like cannons and engines and losing mobility.
If they're unmanned, yeah.
Basically just wrecks the fleet with no loss of human life. The leader, Miss Crab Girl, who
Gets in her mech, yeah.
yeah, Luca the pirate.
Yeah, Luca.
And Luke Edge?
Luke
Luke the pirate.
Sorry, Luke.
Yeah, and she looks like a redhead barbarian character to me. Like she is your to me she would be like the super violent biker chick character.
Sorry, the Dommy mommy. Big
That-
time.
Yeah,
Big
I mean,
vibes.
don't when we first see her, she's got two girls in chains around her throne.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So-
that type of lady.
that kind of lady. But
She
she
gets
goes on a
some-
rampage in her lobster mech.
And it's joined in tow by her two gals later on, too.
And they almost had him.
Yeah,
Almost
they
had
get
'em.
on the ship and everything.
Yeah, because Leto was over at their ship dealing with their problems. He's like,
Oh,
wait a minute.
well, this isn't a threat anymore.
Right, y'all can stay here. I'll be right back.
Then proceeds to intercept the lady, and he has a little, because it's hard, because he's not trying to kill her, but she's like, "I'm gonna kill you."
Right, she's like, I only have one solution here, but you're going to play with a handicap.
Right. So he's having a time, and then eventually just overpowers her back. He just lifts her up with the.
Doesn't he just wrap,
Yeah.
tackle and wrap around the body, just do
Yeah.
a submission hold?
And then just raises him all the way up. And even her flunkies are in tow because they attached themselves to her because they thought they were going to team attack her, pincer
Yeah,
attack.
that's right. He seismic tosses them.
Yeah. He's just like, "All right, yeah, do you surrender?" And she's like, "I'll never surrender." And the most
Yeet.
and then they just, Team Rocket blasting off again. Literally.
And I'd say that's pretty much how that one wraps.
Yeah.
Leto is getting a little more trust built up because he shoot away the pirates. Nobody lost their
casualties.
life. And apparently that was the number one baddie in the pirate world. So, wow.
Yeah, definitely. And so that kind of we start to segue into episode 4, which is definitely a big slice of life episode for sure. big focus of this episode is basically Leto, being a soldier and all, and he had a purpose back in the Galactic Alliance, is now kind of lost on planet Earth because there's no Hiruaze attack or impending doom of any kind that he knows of.
Right.
And
The
so
technology is so dated, it's not like anything he knows he can incorporate with the systems that exist around him.
Right, exactly. And he keeps inquiring with Chamber, and Chamber's just like, you're a soldier. Until there's a Hiruaze threat, you're on standby, my guy. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, that's a constant back and forth of Leto being like, I want to do something. Chamber, what's good for me? And Chamber's like, bro, take a chill pill. There ain't nothing for you right now.
Right. While Chambers like being utilized, because that's when Pinion asked him if like, hey, can you like switch
Yeah.
command of your mech?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
he's like,
I'd
yeah.
say real quick though, because we've name dropped a couple times, but
Uh-huh.
now we're getting more into the relationships with each
Oh,
of these
between
characters.
yeah.
So you wanna give the
Yeah.
audience a little bit more about Mr. Pinion? He
Yeah,
is
so-
a character.
Pinion is your Joey Wheeler of shit. More kind of, but
I
he's-
didn't think about it that way, but now I'm not gonna be able to stop.
the blonde hair is just okay. So, anyways, like this guy's like probably like in his 20s or whatever, early 20s, maybe. I don't know, like the exact age of the older people.
To me, he felt like the American comic relief.
Definitely. So Pinion is a average build adult, part of the salvage crew.
He's a mechanic.
He's a mechanic as well. Yeah, because he has to fix the. Yeah, we'll get into bellows later too. He fixes things around ship, or is supposed to. He likes to slack off a lot and make his crew do the work a lot.
Typical middle management.
Yeah. And blonde hair, blue eye, definitely, like Eddie said, it looks the Americanized character of this show. Likes to comb his hair back in a pompadour type of fashion. Yep. And yeah, it's just dude that's just full of himself, and the women just can't stand him on that shit.
And he very much looks like his job. Like you look at him and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get
Definitely
your hands
grease
dirty
monkey.
for a living.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's even got the outfit on, like the boots and everything, and the
like
suspenders.
Yeah, the giant coverall pants.
Yeah. And yeah, he's kind of like Leto's first interaction with him obviously wasn't the best, but over time, like things kind of got cooler between them because Pinion's like, dude, that Yumbaro's really sweet.
Yeah, he up front, you're like, I hate this dude. Like, please just be a passing character. But he is
he grows.
he grows on you. He ends up being one of the memorable parts of the story.
Definitely,
for sure.
definitely. But yeah, so Leto's able to basically go ahead and just tell Chamber like, hey, go ahead and just help them out, follow their instructions. And so we have this moment of where Chamber's off doing whatever they need him to do, and Leto's just kind of like,
La la la.
I'm just gonna make a flute out of this Hiruaze tooth or claw, whatever.
Yeah, I think they go back and forth on what they refer to it as, but it's definitely that.
Yeah, definitely. So he's there making a flute and everything, and I think more or less like he's still having a tough time transitioning into this whole lifestyle because it doesn't make sense to him because his lifestyle is military. Mm-hmm. Their lifestyle is literally like how we would live on Earth if we didn't have any kind of advanced technology. We're surviving, man. I'm sorry. Like, type of thing. And that doesn't make sense to him because they're surviving, but they're not fighting at the same time necessarily.
And none of it seems efficient.
Yeah.
He's like, why?
There's no
why?
rank really, like, per se. These people just say whatever and stuff like that. Like, he comes from obviously a slice of humanity that has just been rigid, military, authoritarian, like you said, just by the book type of deal. And Leto, kind of explains this to Amy more or less, and then Amy's like, "Man, that's so sad," and everything. And so she tries to cheer Leto up and everything, because on top of that, Leto's like, "I can't find anything to do, so my thoughts be wandering."
Idle hands.
Yeah. So she tries to go around, try to find work for him to do. She suggests deliveries, but I don't think that works out. Fishermen don't need any help because there's no fish to be had for a while. So they're like, well, when there are fish, we'll let you know. And then Leto's like, okay.
Guess I'm back on standby.
Yeah. And I think even the salvage team, who we kind of get introduced to Bellows in this episode, more or less, I think, are
we get a little bit more of her.
Yeah, a little bit later on, but this is our first interaction with her, I think. Yeah.
I said we'll hit her in more detail at the point she's like really relevant,
but she doesn't have any work either, because they're like, well, we're 3 days out from the next spot. Yeah, so he's like, okay, again, and so they're just walking around. Amy is like, well, I know somebody who wants to really meet you, or would be cool to meet, and she takes him to the doctor of that ship, who would be the most intelligent person on that ship, is what she says.
Yeah, I think they end up referring to him as the sage of the ship later on.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like the know-it-all. Like, that's, if you need anything, it's him.
Yeah.
And he looks like your normal doctor dude, very professional goatee, lab coat.
Yeah. Old man. And he talks to Leto, and they have kind of like a cultural type of exchange. I think Leto asks him about. There was
why are the children not being trained properly?
Yeah,
There's no supervision.
Right, and then the doctor's like, they just live, man. Like, we all have a thing to do, but we do it out of like, we want to help. Mm-hmm. And Leto's like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. Like, that's not the... And then I think he inquired about something else, and then the doctor's like, hey, yeah, that's... I only have the book, which is crazy. So the only books they have on that ship are the ones he's just got. There's no other books on that ship about the past Earth. And he's only got so many. And he even tells Leto, he's like, this is all I have, and honestly, it ain't much, really. Yeah. It only goes so far.
I have this, and I have folklore.
Yeah. So Leto's just like, all right, like, that sucks. Like, I was trying to figure out more about this planet, because Chambers' knowledge is even limited, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he talks to him, and then after they have kind of that exchange where he's like, if you're not fit, why you exist. And then the doctor's like, how about you go talk to Amy's little brother? Mm-hmm. I think you should talk to him, and maybe he might have the answer you're looking for. So Leto waits around. Amy comes back from running an errand. Yeah, that's right, she had a delivery to do. And doctor tells Amy, like, hey, you should introduce to your brother. And she's like, oh yeah, let's just come meet my brother.
He wanted to meet you anyway.
Yeah. So we get to Amy's place, which is kind of like an apartment, and she introduces Leto to her younger brother. It starts with a B.
Babel.
I want to say Babel.
Yeah.
But Babel. Babel is her younger brother. Apparently, he has some type of disease to where he's not as, like, fit as everybody else. Like, he's kind of weak. Amy doesn't even understand it too much either, which kind of gives me the assumption, like, the doctor is the only person that knows what's going on with him, and even the doctor doesn't fully understand what's going on with him. Very limited on knowledge and technology here. But more or less, the kid has something wrong with his heart, I think, or something to that effect, where it limits his mobility on the island. Like, some of the time, we see him in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I'll say, but most of the time, we see him in his bed.
Yeah. And so Bebel's excited because he's like, oh, you're the space kid. And he's like, yep, that's me. And he's like, "Yo, you must be her younger brother." And that's another thing that kind of stood out to me. He didn't know what younger siblings were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in the alliance, you were just put into your job at birth, basically.
Basically born into a mech suit.
Mm-hmm. Get ready to plug into the pilot interface system.
This is now mom and dad.
Chamber is your papa.
Pretty much as we get through this season, yeah, he's pretty much a father figure. But they have an exchange, and I think Bevel is like, even though, like, according to where you're from, that I'm not useful, I am needed by my older sister.
Mm-hmm. And as they're kind of talking back and forth, Leto shows Bevel the little flute he's been making, and Bevel's like, "Oh, it's a flute. Does it make sound or anything?"
And yeah, and Leto's like, "I don't know. I'm just kind of just drilling holes, and I don't even know what I'm doing."
Right? He's like, "This is a meditation
And that
device."
Bevel's like, "You're making it, but you don't know what it is."
And so he takes it and he plays a little tune on it. It basically works out like an ocarina.
And core memory unlocked.
Yeah, and we get like the first shred of Leto's humanity starting to unravel from the...
Yeah, it does a flash of what we can say that is a child Leto inside of what looks like a skate pod of some sort, or stasis pod.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a maternal figure, or his mother or somebody is, waving goodbye to him.
They look very similar, like you're assuming a family member somehow, and they have one of these little Hiduaze claw flutes, and right before or right after he hands it off to Leto, they jettison him out into the great dark beyond.
Yeah. And then, that's when we see Leto start crying. He doesn't even know why either. That's what's sad about it. He just forgot, like, a lot about his childhood due to all the stuff, that space craziness he had to deal with. And then he takes it, like, Bevel's like, well, obviously this is important to you, so you should have this, because I mean, like, you're crying, man. You thought he did something wrong. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
And Leto's like, nah, man, you keep it. That sounded great. I just remembered stuff, and we wrap the episode.
Yeah.
Taking us into more slice of life on a calm day.
Yeah.
So we enter episode 5, and the winds have stopped. Nothing's going on. The water's still. There's no fish. There's nothing going on.
The alarm goes off, and like Leto's like, "Oh, we're under attack." I remember that.
Yep.
He's like, Chamber, what is the status?
Like, nothing. Nothing is going on.
There's no threat, man. And Leto's like, okay, what's going on? So Leto,
ends up getting with Amy, and Amy explains that, hey, on days where it's calm and there's no wind, the repairs crew do extra maintenance while it's easy to work on everything, and everybody else basically just takes a break because our jobs are on hold until everything starts to move again. Like, the whole world came to a stop. And so we are going through, and we keep seeing Pinion running around trying to shirk his job as the head maintenance tech.
Using Leto's mecha for a lot of the heavy lifting too, still in the background.
And then from this point through the rest of the episode, it is beach day on the boat show.
Yeah, pretty much.
They do everybody's swimsuit reveal. Pinion's trying to make a barbecue, like a big black flat iron barbecue.
Yeah. Puts it all out, and everybody's got his meat plates out and everything. He's like, oh, ready.
And so as they go to start cooking, they realize, oh, the whole ship's powered down for repairs. We can't light the grill.
Right. And I think like other people are actually working on like repairing the ship. And yeah.
And so first they try to like hook into Chamber to cook it.
Chamber uses his like they asked Leto like, hey, do you think you can ask your mech to like cook the meat? And then like he's like yeah, sure.
Disintegrates it.
Yeah. He just puts his hand on it, heats up, gets hot, and then done.
Real quick though, time hop backwards. When Amy and Leto, and then later, like episode 3, the diver chick.
Uh, the diver chick was
Redhead.
redhead Bellows.
Bellows, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both Amy and Leto, and then later Bellows and Leto have a bonding moment where they're trying to become friends, and so the boat denizens offer them food, or offers Leto food. And both times, the first time Amy offers him like a piece of cooked fish, and then Bellows offers him like a cooked pig.
Yeah, and that's not food to him.
Yeah,
like, he's not
he was mortified. He was like, "That was an animal." Because I'm assuming that Galactic
Toothpaste
Empire, was the goop from the Matrix.
Yeah.
It has all the vitamins and nutrients you could need. It tastes
Without
like snot.
any flavor whatsoever.
I imagine it tastes like chicken. Chicken tastes the same everywhere.
Right, universal flavor right there. But yeah, so he like every time they offer him food, he's like, okay.
So that it was kind of amusing to me that they were doing a barbecue episode with how all of his other food encounters have been to this point.
Yeah, he's still getting used to the Earth food for sure.
And so Pinion assigns him a mission, plays a prank on him, and was like, well, since you...
Oh, yeah, he forgot. He's like, oh, wait, I forgot. Because he was going through stuff, and he's like, I forgot that.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, you burned a whole tray of meat, so to pay for it, you're going to go do a delivery mission. I need you to go to this address and ask this dude...
The old lady.
For this thing. You don't need to know what it is. Just tell her the favor is paid back.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, Leto's like, oh, it's a job. Sure, heck yeah.
Absolutely. And that's probably the best bit of the whole episode.
Yeah, it goes into a part of town that's pretty sketch. And,
hello, red light boat.
Yeah. His mech's on standby, of course, this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, while he's sent on this just wild errand, Pinion's looking at his mech like, I forgot you're black.
And then the camera just pans to chamber, and you see the heat radiating off of him.
It's super hot on this day, too. I forgot about that. Yeah, because Bridget and her crew were trying to work on trying to get the water pumps going. Because, they're supposed to spray water all everywhere, try and cool off the whole ship and everybody out. That I remember because Bridget was calling Amy, and then Amy slipped up that they were having a cookout, and she's like, "What'd you say?" And then Amy's like, "Oh, what'd you?" Nah. and then Bridget's like, "Never mind." And then, like, moments later, while this shenanigans going on, Bridget shows up in, like, the full diving suit, like, and everything. And Penny's like, whoa, what are you doing here? Because he's supposed to be, like, she's repairing stuff.
You're supposed to be working, first off. Secondly, if anybody's going to get in on it, I'm the responsible one, so I'm definitely getting in on it.
Yeah, so we get a scene of her and Bellows just chilling on the chairs.
Yeah, I would laugh pretty hard at when Bellows calls her out for
her little revealing swimsuit.
Ooh, that's kind of racy. Like,
she's like, what? What?
I was like, come on. But yeah, Miss Ridget seems to be like our by the book, cool girl, like down, prim and proper, like pigtail hair, glasses, like should be your otaku chick, I feel like.
Yeah. Definitely the one that would be the president of the student council.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas you have Bellows, who is like always running around in hoochie shorts and a bikini top, red hair up in a ponytail, and then we don't get a whole lot of her. I feel like she's kind of just on the screen as eye candy most of her scenes.
Yeah, she's got a fiery attitude about her.
I wish the parts that they showed her more, she would have more going on. Like
more dialogue.
Yes. They give her like a cool little thing towards the middle coming up, but like I feel like it was just such a brief spotlight compared to like how
You don't get to
Pinion and
see-
Rickett got done.
Yeah, you don't really get introduced to the full 360 of her personality, really. You
Yeah,
only
and
get
it's
to see
kind of
bits and
disappointing
parts.
because it feels like she's advertised as like a main character.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like execution, she's just like,
She kind of gets sidelined a little bit.
yeah, like you were just a plot device to help me not use Pinion for every episode. Is what it
Right,
feels
exactly, yeah. So yeah, he gets on this errand, and once he gets back, Pinion has the food cooked via chamber, like laying down, and
Why is this necessary? Why is this necessary? Why is this necessary?
Chamber doesn't know why he's like in that position, but like Pinion's using like the heat from the sun with the black paint coloring on him that's just absorbing all the sunlight. Basically, just becomes a hot plate in the sun, and he cooks all the meat. And Leto shows up really like roughed up.
Covered in kiss marks.
Yeah, like
His
pieces of his
yeah,
shirt.
his clothes are ripped to shreds.
We're gonna leave that like up to you to like connect the dots on. But he shows up with the parcel he got from the old lady in that part of town. And Pinion's like, "Oh, you got it! Yeah, come on, join us! Like, we're getting started." And Amy's like, "Yeah, come on!" And lo and behold, that whole like that wild like errand he had to go on was for what we can only assume is some kind of sauce.
Yeah, I inferred it, especially with how the meat was being presented, that was soy sauce.
Definitely, and the bottle is even kind of have that long neck and the big base bottom of like usual. Sauce
Yeah,
ones.
and they put it in like the little like sipping cup, dip in.
Yeah, shallow bowl. And yeah, they start eating it, and then Leto tries it out, and he's like, "Oh, delicious!" This is when he starts getting used to the meat or the food on Earth, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
That's the ticket.
this is
That's
better
the
than
ticket.
space toothpaste." And that is basically our slice of life episodes 5 on Calm Day, and yeah, the water gets working too. And,
Yep.
Yep.
They do sprinkler party, and Amy and Leto finish with a little heart to heart, and that takes us into the next slice of life. Festival episode, party time.
So another crazy event happens where like the whole crew is like on a general consensus, and Leto's like, "Okay, what is going on now? Like, we just had Calm Day. What is this?" So apparently there's like some kind of phenomenon that happens in the sea on planet Earth that is called what is it? A Milky Way. Or no. Yeah, Milky Way. And it's basically there's little nanobugs in the water that kind of emit light and stuff from their own electromagnetic energy field. And apparently two of these intersect and make one big ring of light in the water, and basically it traps fish inside this big circle. So it's a big deal for this, the fleet, because this is the food source, and this is like the prime day. Like, we need to get this now.
Right. Fish in a bucket.
Right. Pretty much. So the fishermen are all over it, and yeah, Leto's like, "Oh, fishermen need help." Or Amy's like, "Hey, fishermen need help. So you wanted to, try your hand at that." And he's like, "Yes, I will try to fish." Uses chamber to try to fish him out, and seems like it's gonna work, but no. This dude like literally uses some kind of like short-term like teleportation, I want to say, or something.
I was gonna say my interpretation of
Or was it the gravity pull?
Yeah, he used his little gravity thing to like suck all the fish back into
Too fast.
it.
Too much, too fast at once.
It's basically a blender when he drops it on the top of the
fisherman's
ship.
like, "What is this?"
Just fish tails and minced
It's
fish.
chum.
Chum. Yep. 100%.
And so, like, Leto's like, what? The fisherman's like, don't use a net. Use a net. What are
And,
you doing?
and he's like, and next time we're gonna put you in one of our mechs. Like,
Right.
your mech is too much for the task at hand.
Right. So, like, okay, so Leto's figuring out, like, okay, I can't do this by normal means because we're not in space. We're not in space. Everything's different here. This isn't zero gravity environment. And I think his mech kind of catches on to that too. And he's like, yeah, we really can't use what we usually use in a vacuum, okay? So they have to like literally use the net. And I think Leto's like, all right, I'll fix this. Give me the biggest net you have. Get as many other mechs as you can to help me out. We're going to get this done. And we get a montage scene of him inside chamber with the other mechs going down the fishing hole, getting a big hole of fish. And it's kind of funny because you see the claw ones picking up the net, and Chambers like literally looks like a human pulling up a net, and how intricate that it was looking. And so, yeah, they got scored some fish on that day for the celebration because there's a festival for the
This
pole
situation.
Yeah, so we get a cookout going. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Leto gets paid for all the work that Chambers has been doing, and he doesn't know what to do with it because they don't get paid up in space. Apparently,
Yeah, he has a crisis. He's like, they overpaid me. I need like this much money for food a day.
Whatever this is excess.
And he starts having another little crisis of like, it's not authoritarian world where you only do what's useful.
Yeah, he starts like, what do I do? And then Amy comes along and is like, oh, there's plenty to do.
You take cute girls to the festivals and you buy them stuff. Duh. Let's go get food.
Right. And then, like, yeah, we go into the festival part, and she's showing him around with all the shops and stuff, or the kiosk stalls and kiosks that are set up, and trying new things, food, showing him the clothes, I guess, and all sorts of other stuff and trinkets. Amy's friends find her in the wild, and they're like, hey.
Ooh, you making a move on the hottie.
Yeah, and she's like, no.
I love that that's how they refer to Leto all the time, too.
Hottie.
Her two friends just, hey, hottie.
Right. All the time, just to get under Amy's skin. Every time.
And he's just oblivious.
But apparently Amy has a special role to play in this festival, and they're like reminding her like, hey, aren't you supposed to get ready for the festival? And she's like, oh crap. Like, all right, Leto, I gotta go and run and do this real quick. And I think Leto is left on his own until he runs into Pinion, I think.
Yep. And then Pinion's like, you obviously spend your money on good food. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And they go to eat at the place where Amy's performing for the evening. And Pinion orders 2 of the special. And Leto's like, I don't know what this is, but okay, we'll get this. And they're having to talk about money and morals and potentially Leto being a salvager for Pinion, who it turns out cannot do the job himself. He can't he can't swim.
He can swim, but he can't dive, is what he said.
Potato. Yeah. Anyway, and so he's trying to recruit Leto, and the main course arrives, and it is an octopus.
Yeah, and Leto flips.
Leto loses his stuff, causes a major scene.
Pulls out his pistol. He's like, whoa!
Right, record scratch, and the whole room's like,
yeah, he's freaking out. Pinion's like, whoa, what's going on? And Bellows is there too. And she's like, what is going on?
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much how the episode takes out. Is like, it
Bellows
leaves
is like,
it with the tension.
This is food, and then like Leto's like, you eat this? You eat Hiruaze? She's like, yeah, it's just octopus. They're just eating it. He's like, oh my god, what is this place? Just having more of a crisis still.
Yeah, it was all of his trauma hit him in that visual.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if the thing I was conditioned from birth to hate showed its face 1 foot away from my face, I might jump too.
Yeah, I jumped 6 feet back for sure too, like he did. But yeah, that's more or less the end of that episode of Festival. More or less, the night rolls out. They kind of get a glimpse of like him like not acting normal, and he's having a crisis still. So more or less, he adjusts, but not quite. You know, so we're halfway through our season here, and this rolls us into episode 7.
Episode 7 is A Soldier's Fate. So, after having the Hidewaze crisis at the end of the last episode, we go into this one where we find out that it appears Bellows has won in sniping Leto for employment. And so they're about to go out for the day, and they they go to a wreckage site, and she's trying to teach him how to efficiently
Without
salvage.
damaging.
Yeah, no damage. And obviously Chambers is pro at it because he's got the super fine. Like, to me, when he does the little laser scene, I swear he like went along like the lines of it, so he like just hit the welds.
Yeah, because Chamber is able to like change his vision, so he can like see through things, and he probably saw like, okay, this is probably what they're going after. All right, here we go. Stenciled it out and just started going.
Yeah, because like you get a laser scene and then everything just like pops up
apart where the lines were more or less, and Bellows is like, score.
He's like, yes, no damage parts, extra parts.
Right.
And while they're down there salvaging,
A life form
shows up.
And then Chamber does a scan, and he's like,
Enemy detected. Enemy detected.
And
Danger, Will
Leto's
Robinson.
no. Yeah, he got obviously like a very brief intro that the Hidewaze do exist on this planet, or what does appear to Hidewaze. He just wasn't sure at the time. This is confirmation right here, and he's like, all right, go time.
It's like, I can't believe they're on Earth. How'd they come all the way here? And yeah, these octopus look very ethereal. They're like kind of white, blue, almost
They glow.
glowy. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he gets in a fight with it, tackles it, wraps it.
Yeah, and Bellows like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Bellows is like constantly screaming, like, if you chill out, he'll leave you alone and go. Like, don't mess with that. We can't win that.
And then Leto's obviously not listening. He's just
Leto's
like, trauma mode. I am a soldier. Must complete mission.
Terminate, 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 terminate.
Yeah. So basically just literally just kills that thing.
Yep.
Like,
Does the squeeze of final rest and goes pop.
yep. And yeah, Bellows is like, oh my God, what did you just do? Why did you do that? And Leto's like, that was a Hidewaze. That is the enemy of humanity.
And they end up even taking a sample, like when they resurface, he puts
Just to have more of a, like, because this dude is just coping so hard right now because of all this stuff. It's just not making sense to him. So he's trying to, like, cling to stuff that does make sense to him.
Right. He's like, if I run this and it tells me it's not, okay. But if it tells me it is, we have a different thing. Yeah. And the rest of the episode kind of ends up being politics, where the boat's trying to figure out, what do we do with him?
Yeah, because killing one of the squids, a whale squid is what they refer to him as, is big no. It's taboo. It's a lot of people are like believe it's like some kind of curse.
Yeah, they like pseudo worship them because just the sheer power that these whale squids have can topple the ships no problem, and they have like their own electric current on top of things too.
Exactly.
So they kind of contribute to the ship's ability to gather electricity out of the sea.
Yep.
As well. So they're like definitely revered but feared at the same time.
A gentle giant.
And so the whole ship is abuzz that Leto,
like, yeah, just murked one, like, out of nowhere. And, you know, word's getting around, and, like, that's causing, like, divide amongst people in the fleet of Gargantia. And, of course, the higher-ups, the officers, I would imagine, are like, yeah, this is no good here.
yeah, because we basically get a schism that forms at this point because we finally get to see the true ship commander. At this point, Rickett has been basically acting as the liaison for that
Yeah.
position.
Rigid has been like kind of like the main authority role on the
Hmm.
ship that we've been introduced to. So, but she is not the fleet commander.
And we finally see him in a conversation with the sage, kind of about how frail he is, and it's about time to turn over the reins. And so there's kind of a schism going of like the half of the ship that's like, we're cursed because we just destroyed a whale,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a minority that's like, we've never before had the
Had the power
means to
to
do
do
that.
that. Yeah.
And Pinion is kind of
On that side.
on that side and almost a top instigator of that. He's kind
Yeah.
of running around in the background going like, hey, I know a place with a lot of stuff since we can get around the whale squid problem.
Watching it for the first time for our first viewers, that's kind of out of left field. But later on in the season, you kind of find out why he's got that place in mind. He's been to this place before, just never could get to it.
Yep. And that pretty much takes us out of that episode into episode 8, which is Separation.
So we get into Leto getting geared up to go deep dive for Pinion and his crew, I believe, on this one.
So at the start of it, we have the passing
Well,
of
the crew,
the fleet
or
commander.
Commander. There's a wake happening, of course.
Yes, and
Everybody's wondering where Rigid is.
yeah, because he instilled next authority is like, Rigid, you're going to be the next fleet commander. She's
Right.
basically his daughter or whatever. And because of how young and inexperienced everything, there's obviously some doubts, which further
Within the chain of command, yeah.
plays into the schism. So Leto has agreed to go with Pinion and his group to go,
Because he confirmed by
salvage.
this point that what he thought was a
Yes.
descendant of the Hidewazi.
Yeah, while being drastically weaker, it was like a 99.9% DNA match. That's what these were.
And then Leto's automatically like, all right, mission to go. This is what I was born for. I need, I have to do this. This is the only thing I can do, on this planet, or at least so he thinks anyways. He's been conditioned to think like this, people. So yeah, of course, he's all gung-ho about it. He's like, I will kill every last one of them, actually. Because Pinion's like, yeah, just run them off. He's like, nah, exterminate. Straight up. You don't want these things. They are a plague upon humanity. Keeps like really selling that
Yeah.
the whole time. He's a plague.
There is no cooperation. There's only extermination.
So of course they do a deep dive. Bellows hears about it, and she's like, that is a terrible idea.
Yeah. So they don't end up doing the dive till like the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
The whole like A
'Cause
part of it is just like
Pinion's
everybody's
trying to get the crew together, trying to sell it to people like, yo, I got this young bro, and then everybody's like, where is he? you know?
And so everyone's kind of saying their goodbyes. You hear like kind of some more of the important groups are like, hey, while we appreciate everything the fleet commander did, we're going to take our boats and go, because it was always understood in Gargantia you can come and go as you please.
I remember one of the ship's commanders was like, Pinion has the right idea. We need technology to further advance ourselves. That is the only way we're going to get the edge on any other human on this water, which has mostly been pirates. So, so they're all for it. They're getting ready to separate. They're people that are like moving to the ship that's about to depart from Gargantia.
Amy and Leto have a pretty bummer goodbye for that one, and then they switch, and then the episode pretty much resolves where they get to the location that they're trying to find, which is in a sea that is just always covered by mist. You're just looking at Silent Hill on the water for basically the rest of the anime.
Yeah.
Bummer, but
Yeah.
it gets better. It's been visually gorgeous to this point, and the
Yeah.
last episode brings it all
This is
back
kind
to
of setting
fruition.
the setting for what's about to happen, though.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
we
are
were slice of life, happy. Leto's like, I'm frustrated. Kind of slice of life comic. You get a little bit of everything. dark serious note starts happening now. This is why everything is the way it is. But yeah, they go out there, and that takes us into episode 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8 basically ends with
9.
Leto's first dive, and he vanquishes some whale squid, and he's like,
Yeah,
"All clear, come on down. I'm gonna keep going."
it takes him a minute because there's quite a bit of them.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to the amount of whale squid slaughter that happens at the start of 9, like it felt like not a lot.
No, it really didn't. It's kind of like the intro of it. Like they're just getting, like they're on their way down to where this nest is. So he's hitting like the few flanks of them. And then when we get to episode 9, that's when he starts getting closer to it. And then that's where a lot more waves start coming at him. And I think he gets help from Pinion and his crew because they have charged explosives to throw down at him, because basically Leto's just leading him right into that drop range.
Right, yeah, it's like, I just want to agitate them so they come get me, and he harpoons them all. And so yeah, 9, deep sea secret, as we're going through this old human boat that has now become a whale squid birthing ground. We see lots of disintegrations. And as we're stumbling through, Leto finds a cache of what appears to be old recorded media.
Yeah, because basically him and Chamber are in that mindset. This is the mission. These are all Hidewaze things, so we need to exterminate every last one of them. Whilst they're doing that, what Chamber scans, it appears to be an administration type of structure of some kind that has archived data in it. And like Leto's like, okay, this is valuable. I need to learn more about this planet. Download that. And Chambers starts downloading it, and Leto's like, okay, play that video. And Chambers like, it's
that information
restricted.
is classified.
He's classified. He's like, why does that matter?
It's like, I'm on Earth. I am 6,400 years away in communication. I am the highest ranking officer here. Open it.
Chambers like, logic accepted. And this is where we start to see Chambers start to slowly adapt his AI to like a more human sense of thinking. Because for the longest time it's been Hidewaze extermination. You're a soldier. This is all you can do. This is all you should do. You know, from
You
that
are
front.
on standby. Quit thinking so hard about it.
Yeah, this is the one time Chambers tosses Leto about and he's like, okay, logic is accepted. We're miles away from the Alliance. I don't see any harm in it either. So let's crack it open. We get recordings of old Earth that
Yes.
appears.
And so we go back to watching the live news footage from what appears to be the oncoming of the 7th Ice Age.
Of Earth, yep.
So that is how technically advanced we've gotten. That's our time frame. And as the Ice Age is encroaching, people are panicking.
Right.
Obviously, everything's going to the toilet.
Right, because this Ice Age is more or less like impacted humanity every time it's happened. So they're just like, this next time is going to be the big one. So we need to figure out something quick.
And so basically 2 factions emerge where one's like, we're
The
going to go
Alliance.
to travel to space, and the Alliance,
And Evolvers.
and the Evolvers, which had a different mission. So yeah, the Alliance wanted to just go do traditional
Let's
Gundam,
get out of here.
put a colony out in space, we'll live artificially until
We'll
the
find
planets
another
hit.
planet if we need to, basically. The Evolvers, on the other hand, are more focused on our genetic makeup and believe
like-
that if we advanced our evolution, our humanity, we would be able to adapt in the coming temperatures, or let alone in the vacuum of space too.
Right. What if we utilized our technology to alter our genetics so that we could survive in basically any environment? By the time it's all said and done, they have it set up to where they can exist everywhere, and we get bits of like news footage along the way where you see the scientific growth and you see like the main player of each party.
Yeah, and they use the squid on the planet as a test subject because they're like, this thing has existed in extreme pockets of nature, so we'll use this one's DNA.
And you gradually, over the course of it, see the evolvers become the Hiduase whale squid.
And of course, you know, people are against this idea because they're like, that is unnatural, you know.
You're giving up your humanity to solve this problem.
Right.
The Alliance was basically all brains, and the evolvers went all body. And so, as they carry on, the two different survival strategies they carried into space, and the space Hiduase evolved into. And so, finding out the true origin of everything that's going on, Leto has his true crisis of,
he loses
oh my gosh, these are human beings. Like, what the...
Yeah, and then he gets flashbacks to all the Hiduase he just exterminated in that old base down there too. He just has a realization, crumbling realization, is like, I am literally culling human beings here.
I'm pretty sure that wraps that episode.
Yeah, because more or less, like, because Pinion was freaking out about him, and he's like, yo, and he comes back, and yeah, that's the end of episode 9, I believe, because I don't think there was anything significant after that, I want to say, outside of him just
smack talking on the all call.
Yeah, pretty much, because he was just like, oh, we found it. And that takes us into episode 10, Island of Ambition. So, yeah, Chamber's unaffected by, like, the realization of the Hiduase being of human origin, because he's basically, you know, like, that's our mission. This is what we're here for.
I was programmed for this. You were programmed for this. Like, the knowledge of that doesn't change. Like, that was classified. They knew that. That was just not a need to know for you.
Right, exactly. And because of that, Pinion and the other commander of that fleet that separated the ship is, you know, ecstatic about all the stuff they pulled in, you know, from the ship and stuff. And then Pinion gets the bright idea of saying, oh, well, instead of sharing this, we should try to use it for ourselves. And the guy's like, what do you mean? Like, we should try to use it for ourselves? We were trying to better humanity here. He's like, well, before we get to bettering humanity, let's take a bite first.
Right. We can't better them if we don't better us.
Right. And
very capitalist mindset.
Definitely. So there's that whole exchange and everything. Like, the commander's like, is that really right? And even his second in command, his right-hand man is like, honestly, I can see why. Like, because we just salvaged... Oh, and Pinion has, like, the call-out that you mentioned before. He's like,
I am Pinion of the Sea of Mist. Don't come here if you want to live.
Yeah. Broadcasted miles around.
Because we know that's going to end well.
So because of that, that's why his right-hand man's like, well, we might as well use it now since that guy just announced to everybody we just hit the mother load. So the commander has a change of heart. He's like, yeah, you're right about that one. So we might as well get outfitted for a battle that's coming our way.
And lo and behold, sure enough, we get into the B part, and yeah, through the mist, we see a giant, what is we presume to be a pirate ship. And we get in a little kerfuffle.
Yeah, with the little small fleet that comes out and gets dealt with pretty swiftly. Oh, that's because they found that cannon.
Yeah, they find basically a rail cannon under the water, and they're like, oh, it runs on electricity, so we can use this. And Leto's still having his crisis, so he's not coming out.
He's sidelined, yeah. Not joining in this battle.
And so Pinion's like, well, we got this new big toy. Let's try it out. Like, don't hit them. Shoot it a little over their heads, but let's spook them.
And his young girl of his crew gets behind the can. She's like, button, where's the button?
Yeah, sit down there complaining like, oh, you think it's so easy? Come down here and figure it. Start smacking shit.
Fire. And that thing is like, that such a shockwave goes off. I mean, it's a railgun, so it's got the electromagnetic field coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just shoots and like goes right, not even that far. It was pretty a close shot, not even a warning. Like it's kind of a warning shot, but man, it just blows up the water right next to the ship and everything.
Mm-hmm. And Pinion's on like cloud 9. He's like, I have the biggest toy on the planet.
Yeah.
That bubble gets popped in about 0.5 seconds
Yep.
because from the pirate crew we see
In the shadows on the very top,
a certain purple robot,
mm-hmm.
and we get Chamber going, Kugel's here.
And Leto's like, what?
and that's our episode wrap is a nice zoom in of Kugel's robot.
Yeah.
So going into episode 11, the supreme ruler of terror, our island of Pinion and our Gargantia exiles link up with this new pirate fleet.
Yeah.
And everything seems nice and orderly. They are like, well, that laser shot from the robot destroyed a whole smokestack of ours. So they mean business. So let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
And once the two crews link up, they see, oh, this society is very orderly. Like everyone does their thing, but it's like all gray and cloudy. So up front, you don't think too much about it because of the environment they're in, but it's got like an ominous feel to it. And
they believe cult. They wear robes and they have like an eye on their forehead right there. And I'm just over here like, that just doesn't seem too friendly to me.
Right. And they end up introducing Pinion and Leto to their god, who is Leto's former commander, Kugel.
Well, it's mech, yeah.
And he's only displaying himself through hollow projections. He claims he's got some kind of terminal disease.
Yeah, and that it's some kind of virus, so he doesn't want it to spread out. That's why he's contained himself.
Yeah. Which, to me, that felt sus, because I was like, they're in space, and the suit seems to take care of them.
Vacuum in space.
Yeah, how did that happen? And if you never leave, like, to me, it felt like a con. Like, he was just hiding to play God, being the juxtaposition of Leto, who jumped out of the mech, like, first
to
thing
show,
he
like,
could.
hey, I'm human.
Right. Because that was a whole thing, like, episode 2, where they're like, make the guy that's in the robot talking come out. And he's like, there's no one in there.
Yeah, that's my AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Kugel is thing. Oh, Lukage is part of this group too. She's actually brought in by this crew as well. So
yep, and she's all in the cult attire. And so through the episode, it's basically going through the cult seducing Pinion's crew. They take Pinion to basically a stockpile of ancient technology and give him this fancy tablet that lets him see into things, so it's really easy to pick things apart and figure out what's going on without first destroying everything.
Right.
And he's just absolutely in love with it.
Yeah. She's pretty much blinded by the lights.
Yeah. And Leto ends up talking with Kugel a lot, because obviously.
Yeah.
And Kugel's like, yeah, we need to transform this world into what the Galactic Alliance is. Like, that's what I've done on this boat. Everybody lives in harmony.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Join forces.
And as we go through the episode, we're just like, something's not right here.
And something is happening in the background, and I think Lukage is trying to, like, hint it the whole time. She's like, yeah, as soon as I get a chance, I'm out.
It felt very there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what that felt like.
Yeah, it's like she's subtly dropping hints, like, you know, like, if things hit the fan, I'm out. First chance I get. So yeah, very ominous atmosphere, definitely in that whole setting for sure, even though, Pinion sees it otherwise, obviously.
And as we're going through town, it's all super muted. Every so often, there's like just people sitting on the side of the dock, just 100% masked up, like there's not an ounce of skin showing.
Hmm.
And I believe we wrap the episode. No, that's next episode.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we end the episode with a little bit of tension,
Yeah.
and we're not sure where we stand on anything currently, but it feels a lot right now like Leto's like, I don't have to think about this information I just took in. I just need to listen to my commander.
Hmm.
Everything will be
Commander's
fine.
orders. And I think Pinion is kind of taking the leadership role of that ship more or less in this episode, and it's kind of like talking with amongst the leaders of obviously our ghost ship that came out of the water and stuff out of the mist, and it's trying to coincide and work with them. But I think there's like the clash between them two.
Yeah,
Right?
because they wanted to absorb Pinion's crew into the cult, which Pinion initially agreed to, thinking it would be a benefit.
Mhm. But
Well,
then
they go drop him off in the toy shop and keep him distracted, and they go talk to like the real diplomat of the boat, and they're like, "Yeah, after you guys sign this, unlink all the boats. Y'all are going to where you need to be versus where you want." Like they start separating everybody out immediately.
yeah, because they're following Kugel's orders to try to assimilate and spread and form the new galactic alliance on Earth.
Yeah, they basically are doing the same thing. Everyone's got a role. The weak serve the strong serve the
Conversion.
strongest.
They're converting. They're trying to convert people is what they're trying to do.
And Kugel's robot striker is like the figurehead of the movement. Like it's the god of the island.
Yes.
And as we go through the episodes, like feeling not right, and we finally like a chime happens or something, but there's basically an announcement. Leto is drawn by forces of fate to run in direction of the bells and sees what's going down and sees the reminder of his childhood where even on Earth in this pirate society ran by Kugel, they're still doing the if you're frail, if you can't provide value, boom. And so the whole ceremony is them getting, while they're still alive, being willingly dumped into the sea. And shortly after that, like Leto's already back to his orders versus crisis thing.
Stone cold face, not phased, kind of by this whole thing, because this is like, that's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, he's like, I can't allow that to come to Earth.
Right.
That, no.
Right.
And no sooner does he start coming with that resolve that in a following conversation with Kugel's like, we're going to make an example. We're going to make everybody follow this lifestyle. And the biggest boat in the area is this one. We're going to take it down.
Gargantia.
And
Leto's like, oh no, don't do that.
It's like, I would have done anything for you, but that's the line.
Right. So they want to blow this ship up. Leto's like, hold on. Let me try to talk to them first. And so I think Kugel is like, okay, if you can convince them to join forces, then there's no problem. Otherwise, we're targeting them.
And we start getting the background conspiracy going. Lukage and Pinion have a little scene where Lukage is like, man, you got bought out cheap. Are you sure you're about to give everybody up for whatever this is?
This little shop.
It's like,
on the big boat.
Did you not see the Bon Voyage yesterday?
Yeah,
that's what you want?
Ceremony.
The second you can't fix things anymore, that's your next chair. So they start working something in the background.
Trying to do it, like work a coup, I want to say.
Leto finds one of Amy's besties ends up going because her ship was part of the fleet that left.
She's related to the commander.
Yeah.
In some way. That's right.
And he's like, I know this is insane, but you're the only one that can do it. I need you to fly your kite surfboard back to Gargantia and warn them.
Yeah.
And they were like days away, and this would be basically like the thought is going across the ocean in
Miles.
a freaking kayak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically what she did.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. And she makes it to Gargantia and, passes off the warning. Amy saves her. She falls out of the sky.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
that
That
close
close.
to mission failure, but just in the nick of time, we
Mm-hmm.
save her and get that message passed along. And Gargantia is like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no, oh no, no.
Bridget's like, what do we do here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when the doctor / sage gets involved now.
Mm-hmm.
He steps into light, I believe, in this episode, I want to say. Into the next episode on 12, I want to say.
Yeah, so. Well, I think a lot of this has been 12. The moment of decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're saying,
So anyway,
this
12.
last little part, we're blending in together.
Yeah, the last 3 episodes are basically a 60-minute episode. Like if you treat
It
it,
feels like the greatest movie ever.
yeah, like once you hit 11, you're done. You're there till you're done.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they get to the decision where Leto's like, I'm on Team Gargantia, set the thing in, so. And then, we go to the perspective of Rickett and the Gargantia crew, and like Clint said, the sage is like, it's finally my time to weigh in. When the prior fleet commander passed, he handed off what I thought was like a brooch. It
Yeah.
looked like just a little
It looks
officer
like a pin,
insignia.
yeah, like a little pin thing, yeah.
But the sage is like, no, that is a key, and I think it's finally time. And everyone's like, the taboo.
Yeah, the
We're-
ladder to heaven.
We're doing it. And so, Clint, you want to describe the ladder to heaven?
So Gargantia, like I said, is a culmination of a bunch of ships in a fleet that are interlocked with bridges. In the middle of this place is a big spiraling tower, or what we think is a tower. It is actually a big freaking, I want to say Mac gun, like from Halo, because it fires a big
Right.
caliber round.
My
A mortar
interpretation was it was like part of like a space ladder.
Yeah.
And so they would use that and, jettison you most of the way, and you'd meet a docking station up
Almost-
there. But
Their railgun, basically, because they're using electromagnetics to pull that thing, yeah.
yeah, and so without the rest of the track, that is essentially what it is anymore, is a functioning railgun.
Yeah. So a big one too. Like I'm gigantic. Like the one that Pinion picked up
Might as well be a water gun.
compared to this thing. Yeah, big freaking gigantic weapon in the middle of this ship that fires very slowly but is big boom when it hits.
And so after a little bit of deliberation, Rickett's like, okay, Bridget.
Yeah,
Bridget's like,
sorry.
okay.
You're good.
And they turn it on, and when the terminal boots, we find out that, this conglomerate is named Gargantia because that was the name of the space ladder. Seeing that little boot sequence, I was like, that just icing on the cake. Like this is already
the name of the show.
it has already been so good, and there we are finally.
Yeah.
Because they don't explain at any point. It's just like this conglomerate
This is Gargantia.
Yep.
And we wondered why, and now like, oh, the space ladder.
Right, because up to this point, you're like, is it just because it's big? There's a lot of boats. Big boat, Gargantia.
You're thinking gargantuan, right?
Yeah.
No.
Nope. Space cannon. And so they boot that up, and the fight starts to break out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kugel and Leto have a difference of opinion now because Leto's like, okay, even though that's the mission, man. Like, I have some news to lay on you.
And Kugel's like, and what's your point?
I know.
I know. You didn't know.
I've known this whole time we were fighting ex-humans and eliminating them.
Yeah. They gave up their intelligence. They're no longer humans. We don't have to feel bad about it. It was basically his philosophy.
Leto's like, oh, heck no, dude.
Yeah, he is pretty much full Terran at this point. He's like, I'm going to be on the side that thinks that these are probably something to be worshipped.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're going to figure something out because this is too sad. The fact that eons later, this fight has not stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he got the backstory. Like, the codex that he cracked open was very dated. And so he's got an idea. Like, so many years has passed, and we've been fighting these things for eons, it seems. So why are we still doing this?
And
But
so that pretty much sets off the big
well,
confrontation.
they fight each other.
Yeah, they start to fight.
Chamber gets close quarters with Stryker,
Mm-hmm.
the mech himself, and gets to pop open the lid to Stryker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fight kind of halts, and we get a still of Leto coming out to, confront Kugel.
Right, wants that face-to-face confrontation.
It pops open the cockpit, and Kugel's in there, like, in his ship, just
And
sunk.
as soon as the air hits him,
Well, his helmet pops off, and he's...
and the whole suit deflates.
Yeah,
Which
gone.
was such an unsettling moment. Like, there's, compared to GK that we did last week, like, this doesn't even compute. But, like, compared to the tone of the whole show, like, my jaw hit the floor at that point. I was like,
Yeah, and then it also, like, solidifies, like, how much those mechs, like, really sustain them. Like, their pilots, like, that's always been the dynamic between those mech suits and their pilots. The mech suit does everything they can to accommodate the pilot at all costs.
but we come to find out with this shriveling into dust that Kugel's been gone for quite some time. We don't know how long, but
It's
apparently
been a
long
time.
enough for full decomposition to get him.
Hit him.
And we
And
find out that it's just the
Stryker.
Striker AI that has been
Calling the
utilized.
shots. Yeah, this whole time. I mean, it's picked up enough from the humans it's or came into interaction with via Kugel, coming down the space, and we'll get to that on a later note. But more or less, it's developed more of a kind of like an opposition type of thing to where Leto and Chamber were more akin to like learning about humanity and seeing, we can coexist.
Yeah, Striker went very much with the authoritarian god mode, where it's like, you listen to me, subservience is freedom, do what I say, you don't have to think, I will make all of your choices.
Right, like he used to.
And so taking us into what I'm going to call the final episode, episode 13.
Yes, Legend of the Verdurous Planet.
And so this one is all of the final big fight. You have...
Yes, we get into a good mech fight here.
Yes. Stryker versus Chamber was a lot of fun. Like, they did a great job with that fight on all the visual
The
cinematics.
dialogue between the AI was...
Oh, the AI dialogue was so salty spicy. I was like, oh, the back and forth, because...
It's a battle of logic, logic / ideals at that point.
Yeah, because basically, Stryker's AI took an authoritarian approach that followed Kugel's way of thinking, and now...
And then eventually developed a god complex and is like, humans are beneath me.
Right,
Whereas
and...
Chamber was like, no, we wouldn't exist without humans.
Right, we exist to help them grow. We are not the final evolution of them, we are a tool.
Right. And so they go back and forth with that, and
And in between, we get, like, scenes of Lucas Pinion, the pirates versus the cultists.
Yes.
You have Gargantia firing off the rail rounds left and right.
Yeah,
which
trying to locate, like, they're getting closer with that thing.
Yeah, Amy is being the targeting system. She's out on her sky kite with, like, blinkers on it, and it's such a small detail. Like, you could very easily miss it, but when I noticed that this guy, I was like,
Yeah,
that is so cool.
She's the ensign of, like, their, like, basically the radar.
Yeah, and especially, too, with, like, the 4 points, I'm like, she's the gun crosshair. She's just getting into place, and like, all right, put it there.
Yeah, and fired just this much above her.
Yeah. And she's ridiculously good. Like, almost every scene of her is her just being insane, jumping off the boats with her
I would have
wingsuits.
never thought of. I've never seen that in a mech anime where somebody uses himself as the targeting system. It's like, hey, I can't fire any weapons here. Use my body as the crosshair, which probably wouldn't work out well in any other mech anime if I think about it. But still, I thought it was pretty. Like you, I thought it was pretty cool too.
And there's definitely something, I feel like that's one of the few animes that it can work in because of the underlying tone of like don't get rid of other humans is kind of like even amongst the pirates and the non-pirates, kind of like the unspoken thing.
Yeah,
You don't end people,
right.
because like that would
You
that's why you
subjugate them.
wouldn't see something like that, is
Right.
because really in that situation, what do you
'Cause
pick away
let's
first?
face it, how many people are living on a full water planet?
Right. So,
Anybody seen Waterworld?
yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of these things.
So I wouldn't be killing people off too quick either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so ship battle happening, mech battle happening. Leto's like,
Ideal battle happening.
right. And basically the ideal is like, all right, Chamber is like, all right, I need to get rid of this thing. It is now malfunctioned. Referring to Stryker.
What does Leto say? It's a family diss.
Yeah. Basically, like that's what he refers it to as, and Leto's like, all right, but in that same instance, what I found out via after Kugel wanted to go ahead and just confirm, like, yeah, I've known this whole time. That's a family diss to me. So he's like, our Chamber's like, all right. Like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. And Leto's like, all right,
Release the limiter.
right,
Eat me.
Yeah, eat me. That's terrible.
I know, but that's what
Essentially it says in translation. I know, but Chambers like, are you sure? Are you willing to die for this?
And he's like, yep. And Chamber goes, you got like 418 seconds.
Yeah, minutes.
Yeah. I did the math on it. It's like a little over 5 minutes is what he had to work
So
with.
boom, boom, boom. Fat like Trans Am thing happens, and they hit it, but they're not really getting anywhere with the battle because that mech suit, the Striker's an advanced chamber basically.
Right, it's the commander's unit, and
Right.
it also has all the commander's battle data, so it's just
Bells and whistles.
right. There's more experience points invested into this mech than into Chamber.
Right. And yeah, you got the pilot's experience too, because Chamber pointed that out. Because Leto's like, God dang, it's so hard to hit this thing, and Chamber's like, well, that's because the pilot was so many years old, and
Right, it has 53% better mobility than me.
right. And
I loved getting it like down to the numeric. I'm like,
right. Yeah. Right.
Chamber, best character.
And so they're battling, and Chamber, is telling Leto, like, hey, the life support systems are starting to get low here. We need to do something. And Leto's in a bind now.
Right, he's like, you're about to burn out, so we need to end this now, or...
Right. And then he asks him one more time, are you willing to die for this? Are you really willing to die? And then Leto's like, the soldier part of me is. The part that developed here on this planet in Gargantia wants to live.
I want to see Amy again.
And that's all that Chamber needed to hear. And he's like, all right.
Non-combatants are not allowed in the cockpit.
Yep, we must get rid of you now. You're not willing to fight. You got to get out of here. And so Chamber forcibly ejects Leto off of him via the headpiece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Leto's like, no, what are you doing?
And Chamber has a little heart-to-heart with him. He's like, look, I can't teach you anything
Yeah,
more.
you've surpassed the enlightenment of what I can provide. You can no longer be enlightened.
Between the sky and the sea, there will be opportunities for you. You are equipped for...
And he's like, you better impress me.
Yeah.
And so he goes, and then he has a few last choice words with Stryker, because Stryker's like, oh, you're not supposed to eject your pilot. And he's like, shove it, tin can.
Yeah, he takes the insult that Pinion had been issuing at him the whole season, and he used it. And that was like...
Yeah, that was peak round development. For a AI. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, this thing became human.
Yeah, I was like, that was just the cherry on top. And
grabs him
around the middle
and boom. That is the banger.
And you know the AI is too good of a character, because that was the one part of the entire show where like I was like,
oh yeah,
my heart. I was
because
like,
that was a father figure to Leto, man.
Mm-hmm.
That really was. I felt like the same way in when what's his face and Gurren Lagann sacrifices himself. I'm like, oh no, or Itachi, or it was on that level.
I know. And then the view in the pod, and he's just looking up. He's like, chamber. And he cries for the second time in the whole anime.
Right.
You're like, my
Yeah.
soul.
Yep, and then Gargantia gets the hit on the island. Boom! It's done, dude.
Yep. Lukács saves Pinion, and then we exit with a nice everybody on Gargantia. Leto comes out of the water in one of the traditional mechs.
Younguro mechs, yeah. He's become a salvager of some sorts, and
he's
Babel is a teacher, too.
Yeah, it seems like Babel's setting up to be the next sage, is what it's feeling like. And yeah, you just get like a nice little slice of lifey, and
now you
take it out.
have 3 blockhead. You got Bellows, Pinion, and now Luke.
Yep. Yep. So the crew gets bigger in all the best ways, and we pursue the ideals of individual freedom into the future. Good ending moral.
Yep. Which is why you called it the true
The true ending.
Yes.
So we stream this on Crunchyroll, and there's an episode 14 and 15 on here.
Yes, there is.
I'm gonna go more complaint tangent than my usual go through on this.
The hot take.
Hot take. So when this aired back in 2013, I remember
That was the last episode.
Yep.
2013. There, you got the timestamp up. It is
Yeah.
June 30th, 2013.
was when 13 finished, and so. Like I said at the end of last week's episode, like I didn't really remember this because that was not a great period in my life, but I watched that during that. I do remember that.
We originally, I will say this, I originally caught it on Netflix, and it was dubbed on Crunchyroll. It is in native language, so you'll have to watch it subbed. Honestly, I'm wondering once Crunchyroll gets the stuff going and stuff, well, the dubbed will be probably part later. Which, if you want to watch that, that's fine. Honestly, doing it
was good
the second
both
pass, it
ways.
was good in the sub too. Honestly,
But yeah, so it wrapped, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, on January 15th of 2020, right before the pandemic, I see an update on my simulcast. It's like, oh, Gargantia has new episodes. Well, that's weird. It ended perfectly. Like, there was no more to tell of that tale. Why are we coming back?
right?
But of course, I checked it out because it was fantastic. And so I go look into it, and we have episode 14 and 15, which, as I've gone back and did the rewatch, 14 hit me like a ton of bricks because you come into a basically ghost story episode, and it's like Leto and Chamber at the start.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what?
Well, didn't it just blow up?
Right. Didn't realize, I forgot all about until like right before we started filming tonight that there was that big time skip between the releases. So yeah, 14 ends up being they're talking about finding abandoned vessels on the sea, and then
Right.
they tell ghost stories as a little slice of lifey thing, and then
Yeah.
lo and behold, they find an abandoned boat, and they go explore it and have spooky time, and you get a little bit of Rigid backstory.
They basically threw us a filler episode at the end of that whole thing, and I was just like, why is that here?
Absolutely. Honestly, looking at the timeline of it, that episode needs to go between
Where
5
the
and
fillers
6.
are.
Yeah. Yeah, that is actually episode, it is listed as 14. That is episode 5.5.
So if you want to do a true timeline rewatch,
Yeah.
do that. So do 14 between 5 and 6. It'll feel normal at that point.
Episode 15, The Oracle's Altar. Now, this
Which
one...
is one of your favorite ones.
Yeah, I actually really like this one. I would say that was worth their time to come drop in later. I wasn't so hyped on the Slice of Life episode. The Oracle's Altar, we get the
side of
the side from Kugel, where it starts out with the same scene of Kugel and Leto in the fight trying to escape from the space Hiduaze. And apparently Kugel goes through a similar thing where he gets kicked out of the warp at the wrong point and stumbles upon Earth. But he pops out what I'm assuming to be about a decade earlier.
Yeah, some years earlier before our boy Leto comes out of that wormhole. for sure.
And so this whole episode is just kind of the backstory of what happened to Kugel to lead
And
up
why
to
he got like at
the
that
authoritarian Godbot.
Yeah.
So I would put this episode at
Right
between 12 and 13. Yeah. Like,
so that way you get like the mix of like, okay, why is his mech AWOL right now? Like, and then like once you see that, and you're just like, oh.
so yeah, put 14 as 5.5, put 15 as 12.5, and it'll be a lot better.
Yeah.
If you skip 14, you are not missing anything, unless the first half of the anime was your favorite part. If you like the slice of life bit better than the political mech fight bit, which I'm sure there are people that are that way, then absolutely 14 was just for you. That wasn't me though. I'm here for the robot fight.
Yeah. I did like the slice of life bits, but I was like, okay, this is a mech. Let's get to the mech stuff. Like, let's get into the war crimes, everything. I was ready for it. I was coming into it. I'm like, well, there's a mech involved. There's a war crime. It just
Always.
feels like it, you know.
Yeah,
like,
usually it's episode 1.
I see a Gundam out in the battlefield. Instant war crime. Why would you do that? Yep. We are taking it to the next level on our war here.
Yeah, I mean, IVO out the gate was just ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. You're like, you guys don't believe in Geneva on Mars, do you?
There ain't no Geneva Convention here.
That,
That's on Earth.
come and get it. But I think with that, we'll wrap this one.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an intro to a mech anime, you want a little more storytelling, less politics in it, Gargantia was a great place to start. Visually, it still holds up. All of the cinematics, especially the space fights, were awesome. Like,
oh yeah,
all
the
the
beginning,
stills were
it's
great.
just flashy. It just pulls you in instantly, and like I said, it has. I pitched it to Eddie and basically said like it's like 70% slice of life, and then it gets to the last bits of the season, and then it's like, oh, here's the mech stuff for real now.
Right, and I'd say too another nice thing with it is there's not like a lot of different motivations you have to keep track of.
True,
because usually with like these kind of things, and especially some of the shows we've watched up to here, you're like
many stories happening at once that coincide in the end.
Right, it's like this ties in here, this ties in here. Shizuo meets the Doulahan here.
It's very straightforward, at least from Leto's perspective, is what we're seeing it through, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Like, I'm on a planet that I thought was lost to the ages. What am I gonna do here? Like, pretty much.
So
yeah,
but yeah, come watch it. This one's definitely worth it. Eventually, one of these days, we're gonna get to one where we are gonna say that's probably worth a pass. But we've got quite a queue before that. Yeah. Go watch Gargantia. With that, this has been Brotaku Retrospective. I'm Eddie Friels.
I'm Clinton's Hospital.
We'll see you guys later. We did exactly the same on time on your camera.
Nice. 2:11, yeah. Pretty much. Right?
Yeah.
Yep, 2:11. Yeah.
This one was 2:11 too, so. Yeah, there wasn't as much. So this is going to be probably an hour 40.
Hour 40.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark.
Yeah, no, I can see that too.
I'm going to guess we had probably 20 minutes of gap time up front once we had the cameras going.
Yeah.
Because I tried to help myself this week, because like I set the cameras up while you were watching, and then I didn't arm anything until after that episode.
No, we had like the little tangents that we went on and stuff too.
But yeah, so probably a 20-minute open and a 5-minute piss break. Or not a 5-minute piss break, but there's probably like a 2-3 minute cut there for that.
Yeah, there's something up there. Yeah, I wouldn't say like 5 minutes,
yeah, but I'm thinking it seems like 13 episodes where we've got to give or take 70 to 90 as our window.
For sure.
And now it's finally like not even getting all that bad. Like the last video, on top of everything finally working properly.
Right.
It was like just starting to get unbearable when I hit the end.
Oh yeah, I see the other file now.
Yeah, we'll need new folders and stuff.
Okay, so.
And remember, if you right click and do move, you can just take the whole thing off your phone.
Which folder show? This one? This is the all